Welcome back to CNN 10 on this Wednesday, October 28th. I'm Carlos. Glad to have you spending 10 minutes of your day with us. With less than a week to go before 2020 US presidential election, voting in America, past and present, is the subject we are leading off with today. When it was signed in 1787, the U.S. Constitution didn't lay out space on such citizen voting. It left the citizens to vote that up to the seats, but it also left the door open for Congress to make laws about voting. In practice, the right to go to the polls was originally limited to white men over age 21, and they were supposed to own land as well. But in 1860, ratified, it extended citizenship and voting rights to all men born in America as long as they were 21. And the 15th Amendment, ratified in 1870, specifically protected the right of citizens to vote regardless of their race. There was still discrimination at the polls, like poll taxes and literacy tests, that prevented many African Americans from voting. Meanwhile, the right of women to vote wasn't constitutionally protected until 1920. Before that, they could only go to the polls in certain states, but the 19th Amendment guaranteed women's voting rights in all states. Poll taxes were abolished by the ratification of the 24th Amendment in 1964, and the Voting Rights Act, a federal law passed the next year, abolished the literacy test. So this helped ensure Americans would have the right to vote regardless of their race, religion, or level of education, but they still had to be at least 21 years old until 1971. That's the year of the 26th Amendment was passed, and that's the amendment that protected the right of 18-year-olds to vote. Historically speaking, turnout by Americans' younger voters has been lower than it has been by older groups. But this year, there are indications that voters between 18 and 29 years old and casting significantly more ballots than they did in 2016, at least as far as every voting is concerned, is up only on Saturday ready to vote, joining fellow campus Republicans to get out the vote. There is a lot of enthusiasm among young conservatives to vote, especially in the critical year, with everything that's going on with the pandemic. We are out here canvassing today. Is voting. People are really starting to recognize just all of the different chaos within the political climate right now. The voting is only the real say they can have. UVA Democrats are driving people to the polls. Hunter has waited with over an hour. comics였던 것 같아요. I don't know if I know anyone like any of us friends that haven't voted already. On the lawn, they say voting is trendy. Like people on the social media post ballot, almost like you feel like a little pressure to vote. Yes. Young voters are a crucial part of the electorate and are already making up a larger share of early voting across the 14 key states compared to 2016. In Wisconsin, early voting among young people is up from where it was in 2016, and both parties are working it. We've seen an increase in the number of people asking questions about how to get registered to vote and trying to get registered to vote. The share of the youth vote is almost double what it was this time 4 years ago in Florida. College students here across pandemic-stricken country largely organized virtually. 10 seconds trivia. How long does it take the moon to orbit Earth? 1 day, 27 hours, 27 days, or 1 year? It takes just 27 days. It takes just 27 days for the moon to orbit the Earth. We can see it more often than that because of how fast the Earth rotates. NASA says it's confirmed the presence of water on the sunlit surface of the moon, but it's not like lakes or rivers we see on Earth. Researchers have been making closer examinations of the moon's surface. Their tools include NASA's $583 million Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter and the $3 billion Sophia telescope, which is mounted to plane. With the telescope, scientists examined the moon's surface, and NASA says that detected water that's trapped in glass beads or in between grains over certain parts of the moon. It's not a lot. It's one of the moon's largest craters. It's about as much as 12-ounce bottle of water, according to NASA. With the lunar reconnaissance orbiter, scientists looked at moon areas that are always shadowed from the sun and theorized that many of these shadows could be filled with ice. They don't know for sure, and if there's water here, no one knows exactly how it got there. But NASA wants to do more research through future moon missions. It's difficult and expensive to carry water into space. If the moon has enough of it, it could help supply everything from rocket fuel to drinking water for visitors. Future mission on the moon will now have an official roadmap for directness. The U.S. Geological Survey released the first ever comprehensive lunar map. The decades-long project was created using Apollo-era maps and recent mission data. Oh shit. Rock layers and irregularities such as craters and faults are charted in great detail. This map was a collaborative effort between the USGS, NASA, and the Lunar Planetary Institute. It will serve as the definitive geological blueprint for future lunar missions. American intelligence officials are warning that China, Iran, and Russia are all planning to interfere with next week's presidential election, if they haven't already. This might be done through cyber attacks, spreading misleading information, voter or ballot fraud. All three of these countries have denied meddling in the elections. But with so much information out there, CNN 10 recently put together a special edition called Checking Your Sources, which can help you identify misinformation or fake news online. It's available right now at CNN10.com. Meanwhile, our friends at CNN Business have some more tips to help you ensure that what you're reading is the truth. Let's say you're scrolling through Facebook and oh look, another shocking headline. So shocking that it must be false. But this time, it kind of looks true. You're not alone if you have this dilemma. Here's how to spot fake or misleading information online. For posts that link to a website, first check what is the website domain is. .u and .gov are considered to be trustworthy. When it comes to news article, check what news outlet information is coming from. Is from a well-known or trustworthy source? If you're skeptical, the easiest thing to do is search for the same story elsewhere. If other reputable outlets have covered it, the story is more reliable. Oh, please don't forget, The Onion is a satire. When vetting posts, it's also important to check the data that article or tweet was first published. Headlines can sometimes appear to be relevant, but the actual story of a tweet is outdated or out of context, and therefore misleading. For posts by individual users, look to see if the user has a blue checkmark next to the name. The checkmark means the Facebook and Twitter have verified the account is run by the real person or organization that matches the username. Verified check matches shouldn't be sole indication that the information is accurate. It's important to combine all these steps together to be able to make the best judgment. And lastly, if you're unsure about information you see on your social media, at the very least, you don't repost it. Sharing information that you can confirm is true will only make you part of the problem. Any game involving an excavator is gonna be done on a big scale. To celebrate its 1950 year in business, the Caterpillar Construction Equipment Company built a giant Pac-Man game board. The goal is to show off the machinery and the industry to future workers. After it was built, customers, game owners, or operators were allowed to remotely control Pac-Man and the Ghost through skid steer road loaders. It took 70 million hours to dig out the maze. But Nintendo got knocked it till you've tried it. Why? Because it was ColecoVision that's egging your funds into fun and games. I'm Colors, and tomorrow we'll be back, man. I want to give a shout out to our friend Granger High School. It's great to have you watching from Bowling Green, Kentucky, and thank you for your comment and youtube.com/CNN.